Hello, my name is Lauren Lefevre, and today I am presenting my final video on The Pedestrian by Ray Bradbury. And I chose this piece because I've always been fascinated by dystopian literature. I find it really amazing how stories written decades ago can accurately project and portray a society that we are currently experiencing today. Now, Ray Bradbury was one of the most influential writers of our time. He's best known for Fahrenheit 451, which was about books being censored and literature being censored by an oppressive government. Less well known he is for The Pedestrian, the story that I'm referencing today. And I find this story really cool because it not only speaks about what happens when a society becomes oppressive and a government authoritarian, but also what happens when a society and its people become too dependent and too obsessed with technology. Now, when Bradbury wrote this story in the 50s, it was a time of technological boom. The television was the latest thing and the modern fixture of every home. People were so excited and so thrilled to be having televisions in their home. It was also the time when, cars were first making the debut. But people like Bradbury were skeptical. They didn't know what the future of society held when we were going to be stepping away from what we knew as normal means of communication, normal means of entertainment. And today we do see many of his predictions in the story coming true. Bradbury mentions a society that is just so consumed with television that they are glued to it, that they cannot leave their homes without being questioned by the government and by law enforcement. Today, we see something very similar. We see the television being the fixture of most modern homes. When you go into somebody's house, where do they all gather? It's around the television. And what do most people consume? What are they watching? It's a 24-hour news cycle perpetuated by fear and misinformation. And I think all of these things go together. We see that human beings are so dependent on technology today to get through every aspect of their daily lives. They're watching it to know what's going on, how they should feel about things, where they should go. It's all feeding people this information. And people today are more depressed than ever. They're having mental health concerns. And I think that these advancements have something to do with it. I mean, you can't go for a walk anymore. You can't stop and smell the roses. If people do go for walks, it's because they're most likely going to photograph it and post it on social media so they can get likes and attention. And I don't think human beings were really meant to live this way. I think that technology does serve a purpose and it serves a function, but when we become interdependent on it is when it becomes problematic. And I think it's a slippery slope that is just going further and further downhill because we rely on our phones to communicate. We don't go and have face-to-face relationships with people anymore. Our mind is tricked and being deceived by these, instant gratification feelings of friendship online, but it's not real. It's fake. Technology, in essence, isn't real. It's fake. So when we deviate from the way we were meant to live our lives in harmony with nature, there's always going to be problematic side effects and ill-intended consequences. So Ray Bradbury himself said that he didn't want his literature to serve as predictions for the future. He wanted it to be used as a tool to prevent what he was describing. And I wrote in my paper that he might be disappointed to learn that here we are 50 years later, more dependent on technology, more dependent on the television than ever before, than he probably could have imagined. Now, granted, we're not at the state where he describes in the story where you're just going to get arrested for taking a walk, but I can see where we are headed. When people of color can't even walk down the street without being harassed like Meade was in the story and unfairly interrogated, what does that say about the state of law enforcement or the state of laws? So I just think that stories like this, everybody should read, everybody should consider and take into account. I think we should continue to question things and just remember, because something's new and the latest and greatest invention, we have to think about the future and where the ramifications could possibly lead. Thank you.